Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Back for more, are ya? Well, hey, thanks for that. I am glad that you keep coming back. And your reward? Talking about Fae. I know, quite an original concept, right? It's not like I haven't been doing this literally every day this month so far. Wait, I have. Yes, that's right, Faevember. Still in full swing. Still here. I'm still here for it. You're still here for it. And I'm happy about that. So, today, we're going to be talking about Book 4 in Fire Emblem Heroes and touch a little on where we might be heading for Book 5. Great. So here's your obvious spoiler warning. But I'm willing to bet that you have all kind of finished it for orbs, if nothing else, by this point. So, buckle up, and let's just jump into it. First, a quick summary. Alphonse and company get sent to the land of light and dark fairies, where they meet Peony, Mirabilis, who I will be shorthanding to Mira from here on out, Plumeria, and Triandra. They also meet Freyr and Freya, who are the rulers of the light and dark fairy realms, respectively. The whole book is basically them just trying to wake up again, something I personally struggle with most mornings during the roller coaster year that is 2020. That's it. That's the gist. Not much at surface level, right? Not a whole lot going on. We also get some tasty little tidbits along the way regarding Sharena. We learn very early on that Sharena used to play with Peony when they were little, I guess. Moving through the story, we find out that all 4 of the fairies were actually human children at one point, turned into what they are now because they were needed to keep the realms alive for Freyr and Freya or something. But the children who were turned into fairies were actually replaced with another being, kind of like changelings. Changelings, or Alf, are part of European folklore. I hope I said that right. And they're basically fairy children that get swapped places with human children that were stolen by fairies. Sounds familiar, right? It should. Well, this is what happened to the fairies known as Peony, Mira, Plumeria, and Triandra. They were formerly human children. And once that was out there, putting the 2 and 2 together that Peony and Sharena used to play together when she was a child, Sharena got snatched. That's basically what happened. That became pretty obvious. We were maybe thrown for a loop mid-bookish that said our now Peony and Sharena had swapped places again at some point, meaning Sharena got reverse swap snatched something, and that nothing had changed. But that's not how stories work. In Book 3, Sharena just flat out dies, and in Book 4, Sharena gets snatched. That's not up to me. That's just how it is. But maybe none of that actually matters because Sharena was never Sharena to begin with. But maybe she was the real Sharena in the Leaf world. Either way, Sharena has this exchange with Peony in the final chapter of Book 4 that pretty much confirms what happened. That girl told me when we were trading places with each other that she was Sharena. She told me she drank my share of the dream nectar. So Peony is actually Sharena, and Sharena is actually a changeling. Yikes. At least in this world. Because again, there are multiples. So, see, the truth is, as cool as it is to have a backstory on Sharena hidden beneath what seemed to be a hero's quest for Alphonse, which actually turned out to be us, the summoner, all of Book 4 was really just a test. Oh, did I skip that part? Summoner was supposedly missing, and Alphonse spent the book trying to track him down, except Alphonse was dead, quote-unquote, and Summoner was just masquerading as Alphonse the whole time. They swapped, but it was a whole thing. Anyway, I know, not as interesting as the Peony Sharena story. I understand that. And then we had plot devices to bring them all back at the end of it. Yay. Anyway, as I was saying, Book 4 was really all just a test. See, at the end of Book 4's last chapter, Sharena makes a comment about deja vu after defeating Loki, which is fair, I think. Turns out the Xenologue 5 map looks very similar to Book 4, Chapter 13-5. That map, the final map of that book. They look very similar, which Xenologue 5 is actually where Book 4 kind of starts. At the beginning, or at the end rather, of that battle, Loki says, "Look out for the dark fairies," and dips. Irish goodbyes everywhere. After that, we see her meet up with Thor, who's chatting up Leaf and Thraseer, convincing them to form a contract with Thor. Thor references she serves under who I am presuming to be Odin, which seems to catch Leaf's attention. Thor wants Leaf and Thraseer to stand among Loki and herself, fighting for Thor as a general of the 9 realms. Leaf ultimately agrees, and the final text in the Xenologue is Thor saying, "Step forward. We will watch it together. Their next battle." Thor is referencing exactly what Loki had just set up. The entirety of Book 4 in the fairy realms. Thor, Loki, Leaf, and Thraseer were just watching them, seeing how they went about the trial. Book 4 was all a test, also a dream, but mostly a test. But it wasn't a test for Alphonse, right? Remember, Summoner and Alphonse were swapped temporarily or something? It was actually a test for Summoner. And as Freya put it, the Summoner is quote-unquote very special. Summoner was the only one that mattered. And that's pretty much where we're left. We don't know really more or anything else about the direction of Book 5. Maybe until we get a new Xenologue. This is all we really have to go on. However, let's speculate. So, as far as it seems, we have been exploring the 9 realms of Norse mythology. Those contain, and bear with me, Asgard, Alfheim, Hel, Jotunheim, Midgard, Muspelheim, Nidavellir, Niflheim, and Vanaheim. There's also Svartalheim, but at some point, Snorri Sturluson, I think I'm saying that right, Sturluson, may have gotten confused or something and merged that realm with Nidavellir. Pretty sure I'm not saying that right either. Effectively merging the Dark Fairy and Dwarf realms. You may know them by that. Now, we've already been to several of these realms, including Midgard in Book 1, which is also basically where we live in Asker. Fun fact. Niflheim and Muspelheim in Book 2, Hel in Book 3, and Alfheim and Svartalfheim in Book 4. Man, these names are hard to pronounce. This is why I mentioned Sturluson before. Evidently, before him, Hel just wasn't a thing. So he wanted to explore the afterlife, and that was a realm that he basically added. So he made up Hel. So that kind of makes me think that we won't be seeing the realm of the dwarves in Fae, if it is actually going by his works, because, again, he essentially counted the two as the same, and of course, we have already been to Hel and back, meaning they are referencing that, and if he merged the realm of the Dark Elves and the Dwarves, we've already been there too. So that leaves a handful of realms remaining: Asgard, Jotunheim, and Vanaheim. Asgard is home to the Aesir, which had gods like Thor, Loki, Odin, the big players. Jotunheim is the land of the giants, and Vanaheim is a little more complicated. Vanaheim is home to the Vanir. At some point, the Aesir and Vanir went to war with one another, and in the end, a treaty was exchanged and held together by the exchange of hostages, where Njord, the sea god, and his 2 children, Freya and Freyr, went to live in Asgard. Not a lot is known, necessarily, about Vanaheim, other than it's a land focused on magic and fertility. So, without much source material, we're probably not going there. especially given we were just dealing with two of the major natives of Vanaheim, Freya and Freyr. But not in Vanaheim, obviously. Or Asgard, for that matter. So that really just leaves Asgard and Jotunheim. Asgard makes sense, given that now we have Thor. Loki is always still hanging around. Odin has been mentioned, and Leif and Thrasir have essentially ascended to Asgard alongside the gods, which, by the way, is 100% the point of Ether raids. You are literally ascending to the heavens of Asgard. No jokes. But I would be willing to bet that the trials aren't quite over yet. See, I think there's one or two major players left to introduce before we tackle the Land of Gods. That is more or less what happened in Book 3. See, we met Air and beat Hel. Also, we could be introduced to Leif and Thrasir, who are now working alongside the major players in a future chapter, i.e. Thor, Odin, Loki. I think Book 5 is going to be another setup to that in like a similar fashion, but maybe another trial quest. I don't know whose trial it's going to be. Maybe the next free unit that we get, who's like the next Fjorm or Air or Peony, whoever it may be. But I think they're going to set it up in a similar fashion. And that means that we are likely headed to the Land of Giants in Jotunheim. But hey, that's just a theory. A Fae theory! No, but seriously, I'm not completely sure where we're headed for Book 5. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, do you think it was cheap that everybody just kind of like woke up and everything was fine at the end of Book 4? I don't know. Plot devices exist, I guess. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and come on back for more. And until then, I will catch you next time.